What's up there, parents of athletes? My name is Dr. Steve Graef, owner and founder of Mindurance, licensed counseling, sport, and performance psychologist. And today I want to answer the question of what is mental health and why does it matter in athletics? So, the first question that I want to ask there is, what is mental health? Well, mental health, by definition, is a person's condition in regards to their mental, emotional, and psychological well-being. All right, a person's condition in regards to their mental, emotional, and psychological well-being. So we all have mental health, all right? We all have mental health, we all have physical health, we all have spiritual health, we all have financial health, we all have relational health, all right? So we all have these different elements of health. And all of those elements of health sometimes are doing good, right? Individually, you might have one that's doing really, really well, and another one that's kind of in the middle, and another one that might be a little bit on the lower end. And so that's the reality of health. Sometimes it's awesome, sometimes it's in the middle, and sometimes it's not doing super well. And the same thing applies with mental health as well. So it's important to consider that mental health is not just a light switch where you either have good mental health or you have poor mental health. In actuality, it exists on a continuum. All right, it exists on a continuum. And for you, your son or daughter, you may very well acknowledge that sometimes it seems like they're doing really well, and then other times they might be a little moody and they seem to fluctuate back and forth a little bit. And you might wonder, well, is that normal? Well, it certainly can be, because mental health does exist on a continuum from struggling to straining to striving. And at any given time, your son or daughter, yourself, and even I can fluctuate between these three different segments of mental health. And it's important for us to recognize that mental health exists on a continuum, because it has an impact, obviously, on our overall well-being, but it also has an impact on their performance as athletes and as students as well. Meaning, if you're feeling very good mentally, that's going to have a positive impact on your performance on the field, in the classroom, as well as in social connections and such. And so we want to pay attention to mental health, and we want to view it as something that is valuable to understand, pay attention to, and do something about. And as a parent of a teenager, again, you're probably wondering, oh my gosh, well, the teenage years are turbulent times. I feel like my kid is constantly going in and out of these different segments. One day it feels like they're striving, the next day they're struggling. A lot of the times, most of the time, they feel like they're straining. How am I supposed to know what to look for or what to do when they're experiencing these various different segments of mental health? And that is precisely what these video series are all about, where we're going to answer those questions for you and provide you tip sheets that you have a little better understanding about what to do, what to look out for, and how to be a support for your son or daughter as we talk about mental health in the world of being a student athlete. And the reason why this is particularly also important in athletics is sport's interesting when it comes to mental health. There's actually a little bit of a paradoxical relationship. So on one hand, participating in sport is really positively influential and protective of one's mental health. So we're exercising, we have an opportunity to grow and get better at something, we're experiencing social connection, we may be outside experiencing sunlight and running around. Obviously, there's additional resources that are sometimes available to student athletes. So all of those things are very positively influential when it comes to developing positive mental health. On the other hand, participating in sport, especially at a high level, such as middle school and high school athletics sometimes, in travel sport, is it adds additional pressure. Right? You don't want to let people down. People are paying closer attention to you than they otherwise would. And how you're doing. Are you making mistakes? Or are you performing successfully? The athlete's own experience of feeling like whether they're performing successfully or if they're failing or making mistakes. So this other hand actually has the potential to negatively impact mental health, right? Creating additional pressure, leading to burnout, overwhelm, super duper busy with a real full schedule. So all of these things can negatively impact mental health. So as you might imagine, it's not a one size fits all, and it's not just this easy conversation where if you have a student athlete, they're going to be mentally well, or if you have a student athlete, they're not going to be mentally well. There's a whole set of variables that are going to influence how an athlete or your student or your son or daughter shows up on a particular day or week, and the impact that's going to have in their sport or in the classroom or in their relationships. So, a couple things I want you to consider. First off, I want you to recognize that and put yourself in the cleats of your student athlete and recognize that what they're going through right now as a student athlete can have ups and downs. Just because they have a jersey on doesn't mean it's all puppy dogs and rainbows. It can be a struggle. So empathizing with that reality is paramount. Understanding that the life of an athlete is different than when you may have been an athlete. The times have changed. Okay, so empathizing that it can be a little bit of a struggle. Number two, when you zoom out a little bit, maybe ask yourself and think about, or fill in the blank, my son or daughter's life as a student athlete is, fill in the blank. Do you think it's joyous? Do you think it's stressful? Do you think it's promotes connection? Do you think it's pressure inducing? What do you think? And then number three, ask yourself, how are you currently supporting your son or daughter in their athletic and mental health initiatives? There's no right or wrong answers here. This is just aimed to get you thinking about your relationship with mental health, your relationship with your son or daughter's athletics, and the connection between the two. Okay? And as we proceed through the rest of some of these videos and different Ask Dr. Steves, our hope is that we're able to zoom in a little bit more to some of the questions that you have and to be able to answer them successfully, which just allows you with a little bit more understanding and guidance of how to navigate this wild, wacky sport, mental health, teenage years thing. All right? But the fact that you're watching these videos are a really great start. Okay? So, thank you very much for the time and the intention, and I look forward to the next installment of Ask Dr. Steve. We will see you soon.